Hi there, and welcome to Out There, a Cryptid podcast. I'm Josh, and today we are stepping into one of the darkest mysteries ever to come out of the sea. A story of a ship found adrift, its cargo untouched, and its sails loose in the wind. But every soul on board vanished without a trace. This is the legend of the Mary Celeste. Let's dive in. Ghost ships have always fascinated me. There's something haunting about a vessel found adrift at sea, sails torn, cargo still aboard, but the crew nowhere to be found. These stories feel like snapshots of mystery frozen in time, a riddle on the water with no one left behind to explain it. And among all of the ghost ship tales, the one that has lived rent-free in my brain for years is the case of the Mary Celeste. It's not just that it's strange, it's that it makes no sense. A perfectly seaworthy ship, valuable cargo untouched, and yet the captain, his family, and the entire crew were gone without a trace. No blood, no signs of violence, no goodbye, just gone. Today we are going to approach the Mary Celeste the same way we did with the Montauk Monster case. First, by breaking down the detailed timeline of events, so we can piece together exactly what we know, and then by diving headfirst into the wild sea of theories. These range from the mundane, like pirates or storms, to the bizarre, like sea monsters, alien abductions, or even the ghost of Davy Jones himself. We'll get into the Mary Celeste right after this. To understand why the mystery of the Mary Celeste is so enduring, we have to start at the beginning. The story doesn't just begin in 1872, when the ship was found abandoned. It begins a decade earlier, in a small shipyard in Nova Scotia. In 1861, a sleek brigantine was built at Spencer's Island, Nova Scotia. She was christened the Amazon, and on paper, she was meant to be a sturdy, reliable cargo ship. But from the start, it seemed like the Amazon carried bad luck in her timbers. On her very first voyage, she struck a fishing vessel in the Narrows of Eastport, Maine. Later, while sailing in the English Channel, her first captain suddenly fell ill and died. Mishaps piled up, and before long, the ship had a reputation for being cursed. By the late 1860s, that curse seemed to follow her wherever she went. In 1868, while docked in the Caribbean, the Amazon was badly damaged by a storm and eventually caught fire. She was salvaged but changed hands multiple times in the aftermath, as if no owner wanted to keep her for long. Then came a rebirth. In 1869, new investors purchased her, refitted the vessel, and gave her a new name, Mary Celeste. It was supposed to be a clean slate, a chance to shake off the dark history that clung to the ship. But if anything, the name change only deepened the legend that this vessel was destined for something strange. Finally, in 1872, the Mary Celeste was sold once again, this time into the hands of a partnership that included Captain Benjamin Spooner Briggs, an experienced and deeply religious New England mariner from Wareham, Massachusetts. Briggs wasn't just taking on a ship, he was making it a family affair. He brought along his wife Sarah and their 2-year-old daughter Sophia for the upcoming voyage. It seemed like a promising new chapter for a ship that had been through so much turmoil. Instead, it was the beginning of one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in maritime history. The Mary Celeste's final, ill-fated voyage began in November of 1872. Her mission was straightforward: sail from New York to Genoa, Italy, carrying a cargo of nearly 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol. It wasn't drinking alcohol. It was denatured spirits used for cleaning and manufacturing. Valuable, yes, but also dangerous if it leaked or ignited. At the helm was Captain Benjamin Spooner Briggs, a man well regarded for his steady hand and upright character. He was 37 years old, deeply religious, and devoted to both his seafaring life and his family. On this voyage, he had brought along his wife Sarah and their 2-year-old daughter Sophia. Their young son Arthur had been left behind in Massachusetts with relatives, likely because life at sea would be too rough for him. The crew consisted of 7 experienced sailors, all carefully selected by Briggs. Among them was first mate Albert Richardson, an experienced officer who had sailed with Briggs before and earned his trust. The rest of the crew hailed from Germany and Denmark, disciplined, skilled men with no known history of trouble. By all accounts, it was a solid crew for the journey. The Mary Celeste herself was a respectable ship, a 103-foot brigantine of about 280 tons. She was sturdy and relatively fast, built for carrying heavy loads across the Atlantic. She wasn't the largest ship in New York Harbor, but she was seaworthy and fully provisioned with food and water to last 6 months. On November 5th, 1872, she departed New York Harbor under clear skies. Briggs had written to his mother before setting sail, describing his excitement for the voyage and his hopes for safe passage. Nothing in his letter hinted at what was about to unfold. To anyone watching the Mary Celeste slip into the open ocean that day, it would have seemed like just another merchant ship starting just another routine voyage across the Atlantic. Except, of course, it would never arrive. For nearly a month, nothing seemed unusual about the voyage. The Mary Celeste sailed east across the Atlantic. Last logged on November 25th, 1872, near the Azores off the coast of Portugal. Her log entries described nothing alarming, just the routine notes of a ship making steady progress. Then, silence. No more records. No distress signals. No sightings. Fast forward to the late morning of December 4th, 1872, about 400 miles east of the Azores. Another vessel, the Canadian brigantine Dei Gratia, was making its own passage across the Atlantic. Her captain was David Morehouse, a seasoned seaman who, interestingly enough, knew Captain Briggs personally. The two men were acquaintances. Some sources even suggest they dined together in New York before their ships departed on similar routes. That morning, the crew of the Dei Gratia spotted a ship on the horizon, behaving strangely. Its sails were partially set, but flapping loosely in the wind, as though no one was at the helm. The vessel drifted aimlessly, yawing from side to side, but still upright and seaworthy. As they drew closer, Captain Morehouse realized something was deeply wrong. This ship was the Mary Celeste. Morehouse ordered a small boarding party to investigate. First mate Oliver DeVoe and several sailors rowed across in a small boat and clambered onto her deck. What they found has baffled historians ever since. The Mary Celeste was completely deserted. Not a single soul remained on board. Yet, the ship was not wrecked or sinking. In fact, Aside from some minor damage, a missing lifeboat, a disassembled pump, and a few feet of water sloshing in the bilge, she was perfectly seaworthy. The cargo of industrial alcohol was intact, though a few barrels were found empty, possibly due to leakage. Provisions, food, and fresh water for months were still aboard. Personal belongings, including the captain's and crew's clothes, boots, and even valuables, had been left untouched. There was no blood, no sign of violence, no evidence of a struggle. The ship's logbook was still in the captain's cabin, with the last entry dated November 25th, 9 days before the discovery. It placed the ship near the Azores, sailing steadily eastward. After that, nothing. The only major thing missing was the ship's lifeboat. It appeared as though the captain and crew had deliberately left the Mary Celeste. But the question was, why? And where did they go? More on the Mary Celeste right after this. The Dei Gratia crew split their manpower, sailing both ships together to Gibraltar, where an inquiry would attempt to unravel the puzzle. But instead of answers, the investigation only deepened the mystery of the world's most famous ghost ship. When the Dei Gratia finally brought the abandoned Mary Celeste into Gibraltar on December 13th, 1872, the case immediately captured attention. A seaworthy ship with its cargo intact, but its crew vanished, was unusual enough, but what made it truly baffling was the complete lack of answers on board. To the British authorities in Gibraltar, this wasn't just a mystery, it was potentially a crime. A maritime court of inquiry was convened, overseen by Friedrich Sully Flood, the Attorney General of Gibraltar. Sully Flood was known for being suspicious by nature, and from the outset, he leaned toward foul play. His official duty was to determine whether the Dei Gratia crew had any involvement in the disappearance of the Mary Celeste's people. After all, they were the ones who stood to benefit from the salvage rights, the legal system that rewarded anyone who recovered an abandoned vessel to its cargo. The inquiry dragged on for 3 months, becoming almost as mysterious as the ship itself. Testimony from the Dei Gratia crew insisted they had found the ship already deserted, with no signs of violence or looting. Still, Sully Flood couldn't shake the idea that they might have attacked the Mary Celeste in hopes of claiming her valuable cargo. But the evidence didn't support that theory. The alcohol, though leaking from a handful of barrels, was largely untouched. The crew's personal possessions, including money and jewelry, had not been stolen. Even Briggs's cabin was in order, as if he had expected to return. Examinations of the ship turned up little. The bilge contained about 3.5 feet of water, not enough to threaten the vessel. The ship's pumps, vital for draining water, were found disassembled, which may have caused confusion about how much water the ship was actually taking on. But aside from this, there was no sign of catastrophic failure. In the end, the court ruled that the Mary Celeste had indeed been found abandoned at sea, with no evidence tying the Dei Gratia crew to wrongdoing. However, the salvage award given to them was unusually low, only about 1/5 of the ship's value. This was a strong indication that while the court found no proof of foul play, suspicion still lingered in the minds of the authorities. By early 1873, the inquiry was closed, leaving the central question unresolved. Why would Captain Briggs, a cautious and experienced sailor, abandon a perfectly seaworthy ship? with his wife, his young daughter, and his entire crew, and never be seen again. The hearing in Gibraltar ended the legal chapter of the story, but it opened the floodgates of speculation. From practical explanations to outlandish legends, theories about what really happened aboard the Mary Celeste have swirled ever since. And that's where the trail of hard evidence ends. So, to recap, the Mary Celeste was found seaworthy, her cargo mostly intact, her provisions untouched, and yet her people were gone. The Gibraltar hearing left us with more questions than answers, and the official record simply stops there. No bodies were ever recovered, no survivors ever came forward, and no one ever truly knew why Captain Briggs, his family, and his crew abandoned the ship. So, let's break down some of the theories, starting with the most widely accepted, and then working our way into stranger waters. Theory number 1. Alcohol fumes and accidental abandonment. One of the most widely accepted theories about the Mary Celeste doesn't involve pirates, ghosts, or sea monsters, but something far more mundane, and in some ways, scarier. Alcohol fumes. Remember, the ship was carrying nearly 1,700 barrels of denatured alcohol, a cargo that's notoriously unstable. When the Dei Gratia crew inspected the ship, they discovered that 9 barrels were empty. These barrels weren't made of the same white oak as the others. They were red oak, which is more porous. That means alcohol could have seeped out more easily, filling the hold with potentially explosive fumes. Now, imagine this from Captain Briggs's perspective. He's got his wife, his 2-year-old daughter on board. The ship begins reeking of alcohol. The crew grows uneasy, and suddenly, perhaps while someone is checking below deck, there's a loud whoosh, or even a flash fire. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to terrify everyone, and make Briggs think the cargo could blow at any second. So, what does he do? He makes the safest call he can think of. Evacuate the ship. The lifeboat is lowered, everyone climbs in, and the plan is probably to stay close by until the fumes clear and it's safe to return. Some even suggest Briggs tied the lifeboat to the Mary Celeste with a rope, only for it to snap or come loose, leaving the crew stranded as their ship drifted away without them. It's a chilling thought, but because it's plausible. No blood, no violence, no missing cargo. Just a terrible twist of fate and bad luck. And yet, here's the problem. When the Mary Celeste was inspected, there were no burn marks, no charring, no sign of fire or explosion. If there had been a flash ignition, wouldn't there be at least some evidence left behind? Still, among historians and maritime experts, the alcohol fumes theory remains one of the most convincing explanations. It doesn't answer every question, but it explains enough to make it feel like the most grounded possibility. Theory number 2. Pump malfunction, rogue waves, and misjudged disaster. If the alcohol fumes theory appeals to our sense of what might have happened by accident, this next possibility leans into human error and the unpredictable sea. Experienced sailors like Captain Briggs were trained to handle storms and ship issues. But even the best could misjudge a situation, especially when the ocean throws a curveball. When the Dei Gratia crew boarded the Mary Celeste, they found the ship's pumps disassembled. These pumps were crucial for draining water that might accumulate in the bilge. Without them, it would be easy for anyone below deck to overestimate how much water the ship was taking on. Briggs may have seen a few feet of water sloshing in the hold and assumed the ship was in imminent danger of sinking. Add to that the possibility of rogue wave or sudden storms. Atlantic seas are notorious for surprises. And suddenly, the situation becomes terrifying. From Briggs's perspective, the ship could have been moments from capsizing. Faced with danger and wanting to protect his family and crew, the logical move might have been to abandon ship temporarily, rowing in the lifeboat until the threat passed. But the ocean is cruelly unpredictable. If the lifeboat wasn't securely tied, or if waves pulled it away, everyone would be left stranded, watching the Mary Celeste drift away, seaworthy and intact, as they disappeared into the Atlantic. This theory makes sense because it aligns with the evidence left on board: a functioning, undamaged ship with no signs of struggle, the pumps disassembled, and the water in the hold that was worrying but not fatal. It's a scenario where the captain's caution, a normally admirable trait, may have inadvertently doomed everyone. Yet, like the alcohol fumes theory, it's not a perfect explanation. Why would an experienced captain immediately assume the ship was doomed without trying to fix the pumps or wait out the storm? And if they left in haste, why was the lifeboat missing, but no other signs of panic evident on deck? Still, it's one of the more grounded, human explanations for the greatest ghost ship mystery in history. More on the Mary Celeste right after this. Theory number 3: mutiny, pirates, or human foul play. Now, we step into darker waters. The idea that someone aboard the Mary Celeste deliberately caused the disappearance. In the 19th century, piracy and mutiny were very real threats, especially on long transatlantic voyages with high-value cargo. And human nature being what it is, some theorists have speculated that greed, conflict, or desperation could have played a role. One suggestion is mutiny. Perhaps some crew members grew resentful of Captain Briggs, or a disagreement escalated into violence. They could have overpowered Briggs and taken the lifeboat, leaving the ship intact. After all, the cargo and valuables were mostly untouched. Another possibility is pirate attack. Pirates could have boarded the Mary Celeste, seized the crew, and then abandoned the ship for reasons lost to history. Again, the puzzling part is that nearly everything of value, cargo, money, personal effects, was left behind. This theory doesn't fit the usual pirate pattern, which usually involves theft and destruction. Even the Dei Gratia crew came under suspicion at the Gibraltar salvage hearing, because maritime law gave them financial incentive to claim the abandoned ship. Some theories wondered if they had caused the crew to abandon ship, or worse. But no evidence ever surfaced to support foul play from them, and the inquiry largely exonerated them, even if a small cloud of suspicion remained. Why does this theory persist? Because human treachery is plausible, and we instinctively look for motives when confronted with mystery. A vanished crew and an untouched, seaworthy ship creates the perfect canvas for imagining plots of greed, mutiny, or malice. Yet, the weaknesses are glaring. There's no blood, no struggle, no bodies, and the captain's careful planning and reputation make mutiny less likely. Pirates or criminals leaving a valuable cargo untouched is equally hard to swallow. Still, this theory appeals to our darker instincts, the part of us that wonders if the sea wasn't the culprit, but humans themselves. Theory number 4: paranormal and legendary explanations. Finally, we enter the realm of the bizarre and unexplainable. The ghostly and legendary theories that have kept the Mary Celeste alive in our imaginations for over a century. These are the ideas that make the ship a true ghost ship, in the popular sense, where reality blends into myth. Some have speculated that sea monsters might have been responsible. Tales of giant squids dragging sailors into the depths were common in the 19th century, and the thought of a massive creature pulling a crew overboard fits the imagination, if not the evidence. Creatures like the Kraken, the Megalodon, and even the Leviathan have been speculated to have taken the crew. But with all of these creatures, we would have seen some sort of evidence like scratches, blood, and even bodies. Then there's the supernatural angle. Writers and storytellers have suggested that the crew was claimed by Davy Jones, the legendary spirit of the sea, or cursed by some maritime misfortune lingering from the ship's troubled past. Others link the story to the Bermuda Triangle, even though the Mary Celeste was nowhere near the infamous zone. And of course, no great unsolved mystery feels complete without someone suggesting aliens. In the 20th century, as UFO lore became part of pop culture, the Mary Celeste was swept up into it. The idea is simple. The crew didn't abandon the ship at all. They were taken. Supporters of this theory point to the sheer strangeness of the case. No signs of struggle, no violence, no sinking ship, no logical reason to leave. To them, the total absence of evidence is evidence itself. The crew, Briggs, his wife, and their daughter, were plucked off the deck by some extraterrestrial force, leaving behind only an empty vessel to confuse the world. Is there evidence for this? Not really. But, like the Montauk Monster or Roswell, the lack of closure creates space for speculation. The alien theory thrives on the feeling that something impossible must have happened, because the ordinary explanations just don't satisfy. Sadly, there's no tangible evidence supporting any of these supernatural ideas. They remain part of folklore, urban legend, and the storytelling that has elevated the Mary Celeste from a maritime mystery to a cultural icon. But their persistence says something about us. We are drawn to mysteries that defy reason, and the Mary Celeste is the ultimate canvas for our fears and fantasies. So, what really happened? The truth is, we don't know. After all these years, the ship continues to drift through history as a ghostly enigma, defying explanation. The mystery of the Mary Celeste didn't just fade into maritime history, it became a cultural phenomenon. For over a century, writers, filmmakers, and storytellers have been captivated by the image of a ghost ship drifting silently across the ocean. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, long before he created Sherlock Holmes, wrote a short story inspired by the case in 1884, which sensationalized the mystery and cemented it in the public imagination. Since then, the Mary Celeste has appeared in countless books, movies, and television shows, often portrayed as the ultimate unsolved sea legend. From documentaries on the History Channel to fictionalized retellings in novels and even horror films, the story continues to inspire new generations of mystery lovers. Its cultural impact shows just how deeply the case unsettles us. The Mary Celeste isn't just a shipwreck story. It's a blank canvas that allows every generation to project its fears onto it. Whether it's pirates, sea monsters, aliens, or curses, it reminds us that sometimes the most enduring mysteries aren't the ones that give us answers, but the ones that never do. Much like the Montauk Monster, this is a mystery that lodges itself in your mind. You can read the reports, examine the logs, and weigh the theories. and still feel the same chill that sailors must have felt when they first approached her floating, empty, and silent. The Mary Celeste reminds us that the ocean, vast and unpredictable, can keep its secrets forever. And sometimes, that's enough to make a story live rent-free in your brain for a lifetime. And maybe that's why ghost ships continue to fascinate us. They're reminders that some mysteries aren't meant to be solved, only felt, imagined, and retold. If I had to pick what I think really happened, I lean toward the most grounded human explanation. The crew likely smelled leaking alcohol, panicked about a possible explosion, and decided to evacuate the ship temporarily. In that scenario, a simple accident, a snapped rope or rogue wave, could have separated the lifeboat from the Mary Celeste, leaving everyone stranded at sea while the ship drifted on without them. It's tragic, but it fits the evidence. A seaworthy ship, untouched cargo, no violence. That said, I can also imagine a darker world, where the Dei Gratia's crew somehow boarded the ship, ordered Briggs and his crew onto the lifeboat, and then abandoned them to claim the Mary Celeste and its cargo for themselves. There's no proof that this happened, but the thought lingers because the mystery is just that, a puzzle with pieces that could fit multiple chilling scenarios. So, what do you think? Is the truth of the Mary Celeste really out there? Be sure to follow us on Instagram @OutThereCryptids for episode posts, updates, and more. Join our community on Discord, where we dive even deeper into the mysteries we explore here on the podcast. The link can be found on our Instagram. And if you're loving the show, consider supporting us on Patreon. As a patron, you'll get exclusive perks like bonus episodes, early access, and even surprises. See you next week.